everything was perfect and in order, and everybody was happy with the seizure. On the following day, I received an instruction from Lieutenant Colonel Jacob that I must go back to Potchefstroom to unpack the exhibit and seal them in the forensic science lab bags. I then requested Captain Danzi, now the deceased, Captain Freeze, but I do not recall who else was there to assist. We proceeded to Potchefstroom and unpacked and sealed the exhibits in the FSL bags. They were then entered in the Potchefstroom SAP 13 register, which was brought to DPCI offices by the Potchefstroom clerk. After we had finished, I locked the safe and I personally took back the key to General Senona and booked it back on the register since I had booked it out in the morning. Again, I received the call on the next day from Lieutenant Colonel Jacob that I must go back to DPCI offices and take samples from each bag. I again requested Captain Freeze and Captain Danzi, and I do not recall who else came with me. We went into the safe. I randomly picked up 5 bags and took out samples from each brick, which I randomly selected. I placed the samples inside the FSL exhibit bags and sealed them. The bags were marked with Durban Central OCI Inquiry 28/06/2021 and Potchefstroom SAP 13/883/2021, which I later handed over to Warrant Officer Sibia for safekeeping until Lieutenant Jacob comes back from leave. I wish to state on record that Ntuthuko Khuzwayo introduced himself as the custom official. This could have been clarified had a statement been taken from him shortly after, which would have confirmed his occupation. I had no reason to mislead anyone or falsify information. Similarly, I had no reason to state that Sergeant Mkhize and Sergeant Gavin and other police officials were there observing the search if they were not there. I also want to state that I concur with Lieutenant Colonel Jacob that I am an experienced drug investigator. I have been doing drug investigation for more than 10 years, doing buy and bust covert operations in KZN. But I have never attended a drug interception of this magnitude from start to finish, either at the harbor or container depot. The only reason I took part in this covert operation is because I was requested to assist, and I personally wanted to learn from Lieutenant Colonel Jacob as to how to manage these type of operations and the whole process from start to finish. I also want to state that I was shocked and surprised when I heard that drugs were stolen from Potchefstroom DPCI storage. I was surprised because I was under the impression that drugs were long transported to Forensic Science Laboratory, Pretoria, as I had overheard in the passage in the office that they were going to be taken there for storage. I wish to state that I do not know who broke into the Potchefstroom storage, and I was not aware that there were no proper security measures in place. That is all that I wish to state.
May I just ask this very quickly, Mrs. Kakane? I do hear you, Warrant Officer, saying that you are experienced, you are an experienced drug investigator, and that you've been doing investigations for more than 10 years. That is drug investigation. Colonel Modley, not in good terms with Captain Mpele, not in good terms with all the people under them, not in good terms with the people under him, under Jacob himself. He was not in good terms with all those people.
Ngabe ngendlela ochaza ngayo usho ukuthi umnewethu lo angazwani noMudli, angazwani nalomunye umphathi nabantu abasebenza ngaphansi kwabo, kusho ukuthi sibafaka bakamo ngakamo linye abengazwani nabo bonke,
Engazwani nabo nalaba baphansi kwakhe yena Jacobe.
as the commission njengoba ngishilo ukuthi nalaba abaphansi kwabo yena ngqo uJacobe yini lo kuba abantu abaphansi kwakhe nabo abengazwani nabo.
Uma ngibuyisa kahle umqondo wami,
If I try to refresh my mind,
Lieutenant Jacob wayephethe uSanapu. uSanapu wawudivide kabili.
Jacob was in charge of Sanap, and this particular Sanap was divided into two.
Kwakuka Mpele, Captain Mpele.
One was belonging to Captain Mbele.
Bese kuba uLieutenant Colonel Modley.
The other one was the Lieutenant Colonel
Modley. So wona amagroup kayengazwani nawo lawo ngaleso sikhathi.
Those indeed were the groups he was not in terms with.
Are you able to give us numbers, perhaps? Do you have any idea how many people we're talking about?
Ungakhona ukusipha inombolo ukufanisela nokuthi sikhuluma ngabantu
National priority violent crime. Is that so?
manje ukuthi kuyakuzwakela njengoba uchaza ukuthi hayi isipiliyoni busunazo sokuthi cishe mhlambe neminyaka eyishumi kuya kanjalo kulokhu kwenza izinto ezidakamizwa lezi ama drugs. Kodwa nasibuyele emuva ngathi kuyabonakala ukuthi ngomhla ngalesikhathi leso ngako 22 ka June 2021 kahle kahle wena uthi hayi ulwazi lakho belubanzi la ubhekeni kahle lokhu ubugebengu imacala ahambelana nobugebengu ekubhaliwe lapha sikuzwe kahle.
Yeah.
That is correct.
As you say that is your area of operation being a violent crime, priority violent crime. You give examples of that. And at the end you say, end of the sentence, paragraph, the last sentence, paragraph 2, you say among others. That is after itemizing examples of violent crimes. You say among others. In that context, I understand among others also to relate to violent crimes. Am I correct?
Ngabe sukuzwa kahle yini nje obuchaza ubekile lapha ukuthi amacala ahambisana nodlame violence crime le bekuyizinto kakhulu ngathi bobhekene nazo kodwa na ubheka lapha ku paragraph 2 nasesiyezansi kukhona lapha okunye kwezinto okufakayo okunye ngamanga other things njengoba sikhuluma ngayo le violence crime.
Yebo kunjalo.
That is correct.
Now, that being all right, let me ask this. On the morning of 22 June 2021, were there no members whose area of operation was narcotics or drugs?
Ngaso lesikhathi sika 22 June 2021 usho ukuthi alikho ilunga la sebenza lapha singathi bekuyo ngqo shishilizi obhekene ngqo nalokhu kuphathisana kwama drugs lokhu idakwamiza ama narcotics.
Icon.
The way
Can you give me a few names?
ungasipha amagama amhlamba athizeni.
That you,
Ama group ayi-2.
There were two groups.
Khona yayiphethwe uCaptain Mpele,
One was headed by Captain Mbele.
enye yayiphethwe wayewu-Lieutenant Colonel ngaleso sikhathi.
The other one was under Lieutenant Colonel at that time.
Motley.
The name is Modley.
and were the two and or members under them on duty on the morning of 22 June 2021? Do you know?
Ngalo lilanga mhla ka 22 June 21 ngabe bona babe khona yini abanye babe basebenzisana mhlambe beyengaphansi kwabo?
Yebo babe khona.
Yes, they were.
Do you know why Colonel Jacob would have called you being somebody whose area of operation was priority violent crime, instead of calling those people whose area of operation was narcotics?
Ngabe uyazi yini ukuthi uJacob elondini bese suka yobiza wena bekhona abantu abanolwazi olunzulu ngalezi zinto zimdakwamile wena ungale kule ndla kusenzwa khona ngezodlame ngabe uyazi ukuthi kwenziwa yini lokho?
Isizathu salokho engisikhumbulayo
The reason which I could recall
ukuthi uLieutenant Jacob wayengazwani nawo mabili ama groups.
wayengazwani. The reason is Jacobs was not in good terms with both groups.
Does that mean he did not work with them?
Kusho ukuthi bengasebenzisani nabo?
Wayengasebenzisani nawo.
Yes, did not work with.
So whenever he worked within his area of operation, he always got people who were not within his area of operation.
Manje kusho ukuthi nakube kufuneka yenze into enjengale operation usedingeka ukuthi alande abantu angasebenzisani nabo.
Noma ngingasakhumbuli kahle noma
Even if I do no longer recall very well,
ngoba yena wayephethe yona igroup yakaSanap.
group kaSanlam,
Sanap.
because he was in control of the Sanlam group.
Ukuthi obani ababengaphansi kwakhe ngisakhumbula.
The people who were under him, I do not remember.
Yeah, I'm happy you mentioned that. I'm happy you mentioned that.
Who
So he was not all by himself. He had people under him as well.
Uyakujabulela ukuthi uyakusho lokho Pauli uyabonakala ukuthi ngempela wayenabo abantu abasebenza ngaphansi kwakhe,
Mangikhumbula kahle.
if I recall correctly.
And he called you and not them on the morning.
Kodwa na usebiza wena akabizi bona ngalo kuseni lolanga.
Ngicabanga ukuthi ngenxa yokuthi wayengazwani nabo.
I think the reason is that he was not in good terms with them.
Just remind me, I do remember the name Moodley. I've forgotten the other name. You said it was...
Uthe umudli oyedwa lo moye usekhohliwe konje uthe ubani?
Kuyi group
Ngubani?
kwakuMpele.
Oh, Mpele.
Captain Mpele.
Mbele captain.
And the rank, and Moodley's rank?
Irank kaMudli?
Kwaku Lieutenant Colonel ngaleso sikhathi.
At that time he was Lieutenant Colonel.
So you are telling us that Colonel Jacob was not in good terms with Colonel Moodley, not in good terms with Captain Mpele, not in good terms with all the people under them, not in good terms with the people under him, under Jacob himself. He was not in good terms with all those people.
Ngabe ngendlela ochaza ngayo usho ukuthi umnewethu lo angazwani noMudli, angazwani nalomunye umphathi nabantu abasebenza ngaphansi kwabo, kusho ukuthi sibafaka bakamo ngakamo linye abengazwani nabo bonke.
Engazwani nabo nalaba baphansi kwakhe yena Jacobe.
Yeah. As the commission, njengoba ngishilo ukuthi nalaba baphansi kwabo yena ngqo uJacob yini lo kuba abantu abaphansi kwakhe nabo abengazwani nabo.
Uma ngibuyisa kahle umqondo wami,
If I try to refresh my mind,
Lieutenant Jacob wayephethe uSanaphu. uSanaphu wawudivayideke kabili.
Jacob was in charge of Sanap, and this particular Sanap was divided into two.
Kwakuka Captain Mpele.
One was belonging to Captain Mbele.
Bese kuba uLieutenant Colonel Modley.
The other one was the Lieutenant Colonel
Modley. So wona magroup kayengazwani nawo lawo ngaleso sikhathi.
Those indeed were the groups he was not in terms with.
Are you able to give us numbers, perhaps? Do you have any idea how many people we're talking about?
Ungakhona ukusipha inombolo ukufanisela nokuthi sikhuluma ngabantu abangaki la.
Ngingababala futhi.
I can count them.
Yes.
Kwaku Warrant Officer ready.
Warrant Officer ready,
Ababesebenza ngaphansi kwaModley.
who were under Moodley.
Warrant Officer Pillay.
Warrant Officer Pillay,
Kubo Carl Sanders.
Carl Sanders.
Samkhumbulo omunye.
I do not remember the other one.
But there was another one. A
Kodwa
fourth.
bekhona omunye.
The one that you say you don't remember. So
Lo ngo uthi awusamkhumbuli.
you know there was someone else, but you don't remember the name.
Kodwa lesiqiniseko ukuthi wayekhona umuntu ndini kodwa awusakhumbuli ubani.
Enginesiqiniseko sabi bona la about 3.
I'm certain about the three.
And so it would be 4, including Colonel Modley.
Kusho ukuthi nasibala noMudli lesokuzoba wesine.
Yeah.
Oh no, oh yes, now.
Khona nomlungu wayekhona.
Yeah, there was also a white person there.
Wayekhona sengimkhohlisa isibongo sakhe.
I have just forgotten his surname.
5.
Wesihlanu loyo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bese kuthi kuMbhele
And then when we come to Mbele,
kwaku uBrian Malinga.
Brian
Warrant
Malinga,
Officer Malinga.
uthi ubani?
Warrant Officer
Warrant Officer,
Kubo Captain Ntanzi.
Captain Danzi,
Kubo uCaptain Freeze umangalenzi uphutha.
Captain Freeze, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. No Kumete.
Also
Warrant Officer
Kumete,
Kumete.
I think.
Warrant Officer Kumete.
Warrant Officer.
5, including Captain Mpele.
Asesibabala bafake no Captain Mbele bahlanu.
Okay. Khona omunye wesifazane wayekhona.
There's another female person.
Sengisikhohliwe isibongo sakhe.
Aye.
SesiXhosa.
The surname is just eluded me. It's a Xhosa surname.
So 6.
Wesithupha lo.
Yeah.
Yes.
So a total of 11 people.
Asibahlanganisa bonke bayishumi nanye 11.
Yebo kunjani.
That is correct.
Are you telling this commission that Colonel Jacob did not have good relations with all 11 colleagues.
Ngabe uthanda ukutshela lesigcawu esikusona la ukuthi no captain kuba bonke laba bantu akekho ozwana nabo bonke akazwani nabo.
Enginesiqiniseko sabo
Those that I am certain about,
kwaku Colonel Moodley,
Colonel Moodley,
kube Captain Mpele,
Captain Mbele,
ilabo enginesiqiniseko sabo.
those I am certain about.
Do I understand you to be saying that he did not relate well only with 2 of the 11?
Ngabe kusikuzwa kahle ukuthi empeleni ilabo ababili kuphela ayengahambisani kahle angadleli ubudlelwano obuhle nabo.
Abafika emqondweni yami, yes.
Those that come to my mind, yes.
So automatically then that means there was no issue with the remaining 9.
Kusho ukuthi indlela ebengakhona laba abanye abawu9 abasele bekunganankinga.
Angeke ngazi-ke.
I would not know.
If you do not know, we must take it to be so. Now, this takes me back to my question, the question I asked right at the beginning. Now you have 9 colleagues. Why is it that Colonel Jacob called you when he had colleagues within his own unit? Why does Colonel Jacob call a colleague who's in an...
An arrangement was made for vehicles to transport exhibit to Potchefstroom. There was an escorting team comprising of Warrant Officer Mdlalose and Warrant Officer Mkhwanazi. I cannot recall who else was there as part of the escorting team. We arrived in the afternoon at Potchefstroom, late in the afternoon at Potchefstroom offices, and we were received by Potchefstroom official who showed us their walk-in safe where exhibits were stored. I do not know the name of the DPCI official that gave us the keys to the safe. I'm not certain whether General Senona and Brigadier Nyusa came in before our arrival or arrived while we were busy storing the exhibits in the storeroom. I can recall that both came inside the storeroom while we were busy storing the exhibits. General Senona was checking if the storeroom was suitable to store exhibits. After storing the exhibits in the safe was locked and General Senona instructed that the keys be left with him. The safe keys were handed over to him accordingly. We all left and went back to Durban. Nobody complained about any 36 Victoria embankment. At an unspecified time, I received a call from Lieutenant Colonel Jacob and asked me if I was available for an operation, and if I was, I must be on standby because a crime intelligence operative whom I knew had information about a container that was containing approximately 7 to 8 kilograms of cocaine, which was at that time suspected to be at CHS Depot, Isipingo.
Sorry, Warrant Officer, I do apologize, but I just want to maybe understand. When you said it's just a minimal, you knew the crime intelligence operative. Did you work with him before?
Umbuzo ke ukuthi njoba ukukhulume ngegama lesakhwini sokuthi minimal ngabe ufuza ukuthi lokho sikhuluma ngayo buke wasebenza naye yini phambilini?
Esingangasebenza naye.
Yes, I had worked with him.
Kanye.
Only once.
Thank you.
I informed Lieutenant Colonel Jacob that I was available to assist. He then asked me who else can come with me to do this operation. I suggested Warrant Officer Mbia, to him, and he agreed. I then approached Warrant Officer and informed him that Warrant Officer Mbia was Lieutenant Colonel Jacob advised that I should expect a call from a CI operative who will provide more information. He further stated that Warrant Officer Mbia and I would attend. I requested that Lieutenant Jacob also attend, as the CIA operative was his, and that I had no prior experience attending to such information. I stated that the information required someone experienced and well-versed in these types of operation. He agreed and indicated that he would book himself on duty and join us. A few minutes later, the operative phoned me and told me we had to meet at Isipingo for a briefing. I informed Lieutenant Colonel Jacob about this. He then said we must come and pick him up at his house. As I did not have a car, I approached Warrant Officer Mbia, who was using Lieutenant Colonel Jacob's car. So we then went to pick him up, and the three of us proceeded to Isipingo, where we met the CI operative, who then briefed us on the information. After a short briefing, we proceeded to CHC depot. At the depot, we met an Asian female. We introduced ourselves to her as police and informed her the purpose of our visit. She told us that she is the manager of the depot, and then she was aware of our pending visit. I believe the CI operative had already spoken to her prior to our arrival. She granted us permission to search for the container, and it did not take a long time to locate it. Once we identified it, we brought it down to the ground to be searched. Before the container was identified, Lieutenant Colonel Jacob had already assigned me to take notes of the search. I recorded